Part 1, BC, before Corona. Living is a difficult emotional task in the Anthropocene. While it's important to know ourselves, to introspect, to find wellness and success, I've found myself unable to think about the long-term goals I have for myself when constantly thinking about and literally experiencing a world on fire. Since fall of 2019, I've dedicated most of my free time to climate justice. By the time I arrive home, I am emotionally exhausted and unable to think. Over these months, I've struggled with finding the balance between enjoying the daily warmth of a privileged life, fighting the structural inequalities which do not allow all to have that privilege, and proactively mitigating the coming suffering climate change will continue to cause. The ultimate question is then, what is there to do on an unwell planet? How do we define success in the time of climate change? Wellness is holistic. The 7 dimensions theory defines wellness as physical, emotional, intellectual, social, spiritual, environmental, and occupational. Balancing these dimensions doesn't mean putting all parts as equal. Each day brings new challenges and priorities. I'm not a fan of putting all self-care wellness into one day or prolonged vacation. Each day should have aspects of emotional wellness embedded, like journaling or introspecting over a mug of lavender tea. I wish I had the daily flexibility to spend a morning in my backyard or an evening at the beach. Inner wellness is dependent on my environment's wellness. If my physical environment is polluted, my physical health is impeded. If the economy is in free fall due to unnatural disasters, my occupational wellness is disturbed. To think that humans are separate from nature is a fallacy. When the earth is unwell, so am I. And I cannot achieve full wellness when the food I eat is heavily processed, when the weather changes on a dime, when I feel emotionally wrecked by image after image of typhoons and wildfires. I wish not to center myself in my wellness. When the earth and my community thrive, so do I. Success is simplistic. Immediately, monetary success came to mind in defining the term. In that regard, while it's clear enough money is needed to live a life with basic needs met, the operative word is enough. For me, enough looks like a small apartment, maybe a cat, an impactful job, and no debt. Its ability to save a little, donate a lot. My views on wellness and success ultimately stem from climate change. At this point, success can't be defined as stopping it. That's not possible. The planet has already warmed over 1 degree Celsius. In today's situation, success is preventing as much suffering as possible and finding solutions in each other. And in this view, my personal success is all but irrelevant if I'm not contributing to the big picture of preventing societal collapse. There is no deathbed reflection on one's successes in life on a 2080 warmed planet, fires raging, land submerged. Of course, I will be impacted last and least should the powerful not act radically to reverse trends. Even then, I'll be a mere 52 by the time the planet is projected to warm 3 degrees. How can I even begin to envision what my personal wellness could look like in 2080, 2090, 2100? Late in high school, I took the stance that my life was to be dedicated to spending my privilege. It was not about me. In my semester abroad in France, this mindset was tested. My life became a hedonistic pursuit of the good feelings in life. Spending days wandering and reading and laughing with friends in parks filled me with unmatched joy. That art de vivre, centered on my personal wellness, worked wonders. Until it didn't. Ultimately, while long hours were spent refining what I value, I felt unfulfilled. There were only so many lazy park days I could experience until I started to feel unease. That guilt, fueled by feelings of abandoning my duty to produce good, eroded the cultivation of wellness and left those days with a queasy, indifferent taste in my mouth. In contrast, this last year has lacked a lot of basic self-care mechanisms, like taking days off to rest. I've filled every moment to the brim with assignments, meetings, strategy sessions that fulfilled me until, while I do still believe my success in life is contingent on contributing to something bigger than myself, I see it as less of a binary. It's clearer now, facing immense burnout, that earmarking my existence solely for the revolution is a quick way to become emotionally incapacitated. Instead, creating outer wellness must be coupled with watching over inner. While I work on slowing down, it's important to be kind to myself. Reminding myself that it's okay to slow down and not succumbing to the guilt will be important in making a change. While I shift the perspective about what activist work is to include taking care of myself as an act of service, I hope not to become frustrated. Inaction is a form of action. Doing nothing builds resilience. Inaction is a form of action. Doing nothing. Part 2. PC. Present Corona. While I still agree with almost everything I wrote back in February, it seems light years away. It seems an alternative path, a window into a September 2020 that is full and vibrant, balanced and joyful. But like the climate's changing and an accelerating unpredictability, so follows the year of our coronavirus 2020. When quarantine started in March, I wasn't panicked. It was like my cycles of climate grief had restarted but subdued, a fraction of the intensity of before. Something invisible is taking lives, and there are precautions we can take systemically and personally to make a difference. But what has changed is holding on to the false dichotomy of enjoying life now versus acting for a climate change future. Early September was spent inside not just due to COVID, but the impenetrable smoke caused by the fires exacerbated by climate change. As I looked outside my Northern California window at the burnt sienna sky, I've realized that while I've known our social safety nets and environmental programs are not resilient enough to withstand what's coming, I'm not as resilient as I thought either. When faced with the absurd, we can run from it and pray for back to normal, or simmer it in our minds, taking in the indifference of our physical, suspended rock in space planet to suffering. Maybe this helps you, maybe it doesn't. But for me, taking a step back and realizing how bonkers it is that 13.8 billion years of perfectly executed events and compression of stardust resulted in me, here, right now, pondering on a pandemic and the chaos it's unveiled on so-called civilized societies. Wellness in the Anthropocene, for me, starts with remembering that.